Innsbruck, Austria is a beautiful European city nestled in the Alps. On my Austrian trip, I stayed in Innsbruck and saw some truly awe-inspiring sights, but more importantly, I ate some amazing food and drank some great beer. It certainly made for an adventure to remember. My Innsbruck story began in Salzburg, where I took a train that brought me to the city in about an hour and 50 minutes. The scenery on the journey was beautiful, but it was nothing compared to what I was in store for later that day. After arriving in Innsbruck, I headed straight to my accommodation to store my luggage for the time being. I just dropped off my bag at the hostel. Let's start exploring. This place looks pretty damn cool. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do for my first day in the city. A lot of it would be weather dependent. For the moment, however, I headed to the historic center of Innsbruck, but it wasn't long before I was firing off photo after photo as the city's beauty was revealed to me. I just made it to the river and wow, what a view. Now of course New York has some fine nature, but nothing on this level. That is epic. Plus with the row of colored buildings, I mean, it looks like a postcard, it's so beautiful. The aptly named Inn River flows through Innsbruck and the scenery surrounding it was stunning, but I had to keep moving. For the past 15-20 minutes, I have been walking around with the biggest damn smile on my face. All of this is just so incredible. I saw that the Golden Roof is near here, so I'm gonna go check that out next, and then I gotta start thinking about lunch. I'm pretty hungry, I know it's pretty early, but I wanna spend as much time as possible outside, so lunch, gotta do it quick and fast. I made my way to one of the top sites of Innsbruck and what is basically a symbol of the city, the Goldenes Dachl, or as it's known in English, the Golden Roof. The gorgeous structure was completed in 1500 for Emperor Maximilian I to mark his wedding to Bianca Maria Sforza. I made it to the Golden Roof and it is quite beautiful. Although having been to a number of places in Europe, you do kind of see a lot of stuff that is very similar to that. But it is beautiful nevertheless. And now it is time for food, although this definitely looks like a very touristy area, but my stomach simply does not care. I just want something quick and easy so I can get right back to exploring. I began my search for food, but it was slow going as the beautiful architecture and scenery of Innsbruck constantly demanded my attention. However, I found a restaurant that seemingly had promise, but I may have just dodged a bullet. Oh my god, I almost ordered from a vegan burger restaurant. I am hungry, but I'm not that hungry. There's nothing wrong with vegan and plant-based burgers, but I kind of want something a little more. I continued my hunt for an eatery, but I didn't want to dawdle too much as I wanted to focus my energy on exploring Innsbruck during the day and then have a larger dinner later. I ended up going to a simple kebab restaurant called King's Kebab and ordered a basic kebab sandwich. It was pretty tasty and I liked it. For that moment in time, it was all I needed. That at the spot. Kebabs, they're one of those foods that you just can't go wrong with. It's so satisfying. Plus that place had a bathroom that you didn't even have to pay for. I even think at McDonald's you actually have to pay to use their bathroom, at least in this country. And I absolutely hate paying to use the washroom. Now it is time for some exploring, and if I do see something sweet along the way, I'll probably make a stop for that, and eventually I will have to get more espresso. On my wanderings, I stumbled on an outpost of a local bakery chain called Moschen Bäckerei. I purchased a cinnamon roll, and it was pretty good. Then I got a shot of espresso from MANNA INNSBRUCK Delikatessen Café. While I was getting my caffeine hit, I checked the weather and it seemed like out of the 2 days I would be spending in the city, the present day looked superior weather-wise. As a result, I made my way to the Nordkette to reach what is probably the most spectacular attraction in the area, the top of Innsbruck, which is basically the top of a mountain. At the ticket desk, I was confronted with a number of ticketing options and I wasn't sure which would be the best for me. To make things easy, I purchased the Top of Innsbruck Plus, which seemed to offer everything, including admission to the Alpen Zoo. It was 51 euros, which wasn't cheap. In fact, the price has risen since my trip to 57 euros. Yeah, that seemed costly, but at the same time, I was excited. I was heading up a mountain. Through a series of lifts and cable cars, I was transported to Hofgarten Peak in the Nordkette mountain range. With every foot of elevation gained, my excitement increased. The views began to open up, and before I knew it, I was at the top, and it was amazing. Made it to the top. Well, not the official top. There's still like a little trail to get to the very tippy top, but my God, this is epic. Those cable car rides up here, it was just so damn cool. Just getting higher and higher, just wow. I've done a lot of things, but I've never really been on like a mountain. This is awesome. I mean, I'm just so high above the city. It feels like I'm in a plane looking down. It's unreal. I am just so happy. This is so awesome. These are the kind of travel experiences I live for. That 51 euros, expensive as hell, absolutely worth it. I've only been here for like 10 minutes. I'm so happy. And look, the sun's coming out a little bit. This is, yeah, I'm feeling pretty damn good right now. And there's like mountain goats down there, real live mountain goats. This is no zoo. This is the real deal. I can hear them. This is awesome. All right, now to go to the official top of Innsbruck. There was a pretty easy trail to the peak of the mountain, which would normally only take me a minute or two for me to reach the summit. However, when I began to climb, I was confronted with new vistas and more beauty. Subsequently, it took a lot longer to reach the top than I thought it would, as it felt like my finger was permanently glued down on the shutter button of my camera. Simply put, I couldn't stop taking photos as everything just seemed so incredible. Made it to the top of Innsbruck, top of the world. I feel so good. This is just so epic. I'll remember this forever. I am so happy right now. These are the kind of adventures I just live for. And the memories that I've created here today, it's so special. I've been taking photos non-stop. Every single angle of this place is just so beautiful, so epic. Yeah, this is perfect. Also, I'm pretty high up right now. I think this is the highest altitude that I've ever been on. It's quite a big drop. I began exploring a bit more. Not only did my position provide great views of Innsbruck, but also other mountains in the Alps and Karwendel Nature Park. The weather was also constantly changing as the sun emerged from the clouds, which prompted me to take multiple photos of the same landscapes but with different cloud formations. I even saw an avalanche occur in the distance. Yeah, this is pretty amazing. Words just can't describe how incredible this is. This is so epic. This is the definition of epic. This is so beautiful. I am so happy right now. Having experiences like this motivates me to work even harder, to push even further, because this is what dreams coming true looks like. Traveling is about having new experiences, making memories, having fun times, and I'm getting all of that today and more this afternoon. Oh man, this is so amazing. The top of Innsbruck just doesn't have to be one viewpoint. There were multiple trails and other peaks to climb, which I took advantage of. However, I didn't have the best footwear or gear in general, so there are some trails that I abandoned as it seemed too easy to slip in the snow and fall off a cliff. Yeah, not dying is something I'm very keen on. I did, however, meet a fellow traveler from Colorado, and we climbed a small rock face which provided another awe-inspiring view. To sum it up, words can't describe how beautiful and special my experience was on the top of Innsbruck. The sights I saw were some of the most spectacular vistas that I've ever seen in my life. I was beyond happy and so thankful to get to experience something so epic. In fact, I spent so much time on top of the mountain that I never had the chance to go to the zoo, which was included in my ticket. Oh well, as I made my way back to the city center, it didn't matter to me that much. What I just experienced was too special to be upset about anything. So I just got back to the Innsbruck city center, and in case you couldn't tell, I had a phenomenal experience. Now, I've never really seen mountains or anything like that on that scale, especially that close up. To me, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I just cannot find enough positive and glowing adjectives to describe what I just experienced. I mean, words can't describe it. It was unreal. It was so phenomenal. Now, I was definitely pretty apprehensive at first, spending 51 euros for that. I mean, that was a lot of money. That's a lot of money even for New York City. But when you think about it in comparison to some of the world's most famous buildings and their observation decks, it's not that bad of a price. If I recall correctly, I think like the Empire State Building was almost 50 bucks. I mean, that's a lot. Now, as great as the Empire State Building is, you can only spend so much on that observation deck. On that mountain today, I could have spent hours and hours there. Everyone was spending a long time there. It was so spectacular, and the price was so worth it. All right, I think it's finally time for me to check into my hostel. My phone could definitely use a charging, but I just want to drop my stuff off really quick and then get right back out here and take advantage of this wonderful day, then maybe get some food and a nice beer later. I mean, this day has just been really perfect. I am so happy. I set out for my accommodation, but not without first stopping to take more and more photos. The sunny weather painted everything I saw earlier shrouded in clouds in a new light. Finally, I reached my hostel, the MEININGER Hotel Innsbruck Zentrum. As I finished the paperwork at the check-in desk, the employee helping me told me to take what I believe he called the dinosaur. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. However, my ears didn't deceive me, as a plush dinosaur acted as the key card to open the luggage storage room door. After grabbing my bag, I went up to my room. So I'm bed A, and it's right next to bed B. This is gonna be a little awkward. So I moved the beds as far apart as they can go. This could be a very awkward sleeping situation tonight. Now, I was not happy about the beds, but say if Paris Hilton took a solo budget trip to Innsbruck and was assigned to the bed next to me, then that would have been a great situation, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Nevertheless, I survived my 2 nights in Innsbruck, and soon enough I was back on the city streets as I made my way to dinner. I went to Tribaun, a gastropub offering a wide variety of beer and pizza. The restaurant's outdoor seating was pretty crowded, so I made my way inside, which still had a fun atmosphere. For my first beer, I went with the Padawan, which was an American pale ale from Briol Brewery located in Schweich, Austria. It was a very nice beverage. The flavor was on the mark, and to me it tasted just a bit more special after the epic adventure I had earlier in the Alps. Next, I was presented with my pizza. I got the Diavola Gialla pizza, which translates to the Yellow Devil. It contained yellow dattarini tomatoes, buffalo mozzarella, salame felino, and nduja. As someone who lives in New York City, pizza is a staple of my diet, and I was certainly missing it in Austria. Innsbruck felt like a great place to get my fill, as the city practically borders Italy. I really enjoyed that pizza. The flavors on it were delightful, and it's not too often that I get to eat a pizza with yellow tomato sauce. Texture-wise, I do like a bit more crisp in my pie, but to be fair, it was a different style of pizza, and overall, I liked it. Before I left, I got one more beer. It was a Banana Joe's Secret, which was a hoppy Weizen from Brewhub Collective. I found it to be a pleasant and easy to drink wheat beer. Overall, including the tip, I spent about 30 euros for my dinner, and it was a fine dinner indeed. Before the day was up, I spent some more time wandering around Innsbruck. I loved looking up at the mountains, especially for the fact that I was on top of them just hours ago. My first day in Innsbruck was one that I'll remember for the rest of my life. It was epic. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in Innsbruck. I survived the night in the hostel. That place is way better than the last hostel I was at, the one in Salzburg, but it was still a hostel. It wasn't the greatest sleep, but it was a decent sleep. But now it's time to get this day started, and it starts with coffee. I went to Edis Coffeehouse and purchased a nice strong Americano. It was the perfect morning pick-me-up. I also did a little reading. Simply put, I found that to be an ideal start to my day. So that was a pretty cool coffee shop, although there was hardly anyone inside there. In fact, there's hardly anyone on these streets. I know it's the weekend, but still, it's kind of weird. My Americano hit the spot, but the only thing was there was nothing to eat there, so I'm gonna have to find something along the way as I continue my explorations of Innsbruck. made a stop at der Bäcker Ruetz, a long-standing Austrian bakery chain. I kept things simple by getting a chocolate croissant, and it was pleasant. So that was a pretty solid chocolate croissant. It was pretty buttery, very chocolatey. Yeah, it was a solid little breakfast. And now it is time for sightseeing. I believe in the afternoon it could rain, so I want to do a lot of the outdoor stuff now while the weather is still decent. It's a bit cloudy, but at least it's not raining, and that's good enough for me. I next checked out Stadtturm, which translates to City Tower. The beautiful structure was built in the 1400s, and for almost 450 years, guards kept watching the tower, warning the citizens of Innsbruck of fires and other dangers. I climbed a winding staircase up to the tower's viewing platform, and the scenery didn't disappoint. I was even able to see the Bergizel ski jump, which played host to the 1964 as well as the 1976 Winter Olympics. I made it to the top here. There are definitely some beautiful views. Now I can't quite compare to yesterday, but you know, they're views from a different perspective. You get a closer look at the buildings, and the buildings are stunning. The architecture here is unbelievable. Plus, it was only $4.50, so I think it was worth it. Next, I took a short walk to the Cathedral of St. James. I wanted to visit the church for a few reasons. The first was that it's absolutely magnificent inside. All the finishes and details were stunning. Quite frankly, I didn't know where to look with so much beauty surrounding me. I also wanted to visit the cathedral for its history. It was in 1180 that the structure was mentioned for the first time. However, the church was badly damaged by earthquakes in the 16th and 17th centuries and was thus rebuilt between 1717 and 1724. Finally, I wanted to visit the site because it houses a masterpiece. Lukas Cranach the Elder's Maria Hilf painting is undoubtedly one of the church's top draws. For me, I thoroughly enjoyed my time at the Cathedral of St. James, but soon enough I was back on the streets of Innsbruck. That church was really neat to walk through. I mean, there was just so many little things to look at, so many details. I mean, it really was a beautiful place. Now I've come over here to the Hofgarten, and I figure since it isn't raining yet that this would be a pretty pleasant place for a walk. The Hofgarten indeed made for a nice walk. The landscaping was beautiful. I could see myself on a warmer day sitting back in the garden with a nice beverage and a good book. At the present time, however, I was more so interested in lunch. I attempted to go to the Market Hall, which is a large indoor farmers market. Unfortunately, my planning was poor and I didn't realize it closed at 1 p.m. on Saturdays. As a result, I went to Koi Street Bar, which was located right in front of the market. The outdoor eatery serves a variety of Asian-influenced street food. To drink, I got a Warsteiner beer. The brewery is one of Germany's largest, and the beer for me did the trick. To eat, I got a large Korean fried chicken. While my trip's mission was to mainly sample Austrian food, I nevertheless enjoyed that dish. Frankly, after being in Austria for over a week, I kind of wanted something from the continent of Asia, and that chicken didn't disappoint. For what it was a delightful lunch. So that lunch was pretty solid, and now it's that time of the day again where I need my caffeine hit. So I'm gonna get that, then it's probably on to a museum. I set out for coffee, but I got distracted by the Swarovski store. Swarovski is actually an Austrian company, and their headquarters is located in the nearby town of Wattens. I enjoyed looking at the creations in the store. They were beautiful, but I've got to be honest, I was mainly there to utilize their free washroom. Nevertheless, that was an enjoyable pit stop, and then I was back on the hunt for coffee. I went to McDonald's. Yeah, it's not very Austrian, but it was convenient. The Innsbruck McDonald's was particularly nice, as it even had newspapers to read. To drink, I got a macchiato, and it gave me the caffeine hit I needed. For a snack, I got a raspberry cookie with white chocolate, which I thought was nicely balanced and delightful as a whole. McDonald's proved to be a nice spot for a break, but to hell with resting, there was more stuff for me to see. I then went to the Golden Roof Museum, which told the story not only of Innsbruck's most famous structure, but also of Emperor Maximilian I. I found the establishment and the items on display to be fascinating. It wasn't the largest museum, and I went through it fairly quickly, but for the €5.50 admission fee, I thought that it was well worth the price. I just finished with the Gold Roof Museum. It was interesting, I learned a lot, but at one point I started getting very fatigued. This trip is taking its toll on me. To me, a good trip is partly about doing and seeing as much as possible, but the result of that can be very strenuous, and I think I need like another vacation after this vacation, but one where I actually relax. I mean, I've hardly gotten any sleep since I got here. I go to bed late, wake up early, but I am having the time of my life. Having said that though, it is raining, and I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna kind of explore, just walk on foot. Pretty much everything's closed museum-wise, so we'll just see what I find until dinner time. At that point, my plan was to walk down the streets that I haven't been on and to see as much as possible. I indeed spotted some nice sights, and I even got a souvenir. It was a coaster I got from Butler's. Yeah, it's not the most exciting object, but it's practical, and I've used it nearly every day back at my apartment. After a bit more exploring, it was time for dinner. I went to Stiftskeller Innsbruck, which is a massively popular restaurant and ale house. Once I settled in, I began to look over the menu. The restaurant serves traditional regional specialties and Austrian classics. In terms of beverages, it's limited, but Stiftskeller specializes in Augustiner beer, so I got their Pale Lager beer. It's a beer that I've had numerous times before, and it's one that I enjoy. To eat, I ordered the Veal Wiener Schnitzel. While I thoroughly enjoyed the Wiener Schnitzel I had in Vienna from Schnitzel Wirt, that one was likely pork and thus not a traditional Wiener Schnitzel. As a result, I felt compelled to order the classic veal-based schnitzel at least once before my journey home, and Stiftskeller felt like a good place to do it. Besides the schnitzel, there was also a cranberry jam and parsley potatoes on the plate. The schnitzel was solid. It had a good flavor and a nice crispy texture. Although, I've gotta admit, the schnitzel I had from Schnitzel Wirt was better in both those regards. Still, I really liked Stiftskeller's dish. The cranberry jam proved to be a nice pairing to the meat, as it lent a nice sweetness and tartness to the course. The potatoes were nice as well, although they did need a touch of salt. Overall, I certainly had a pleasant dinner at Stiftskeller. My bill, including the tip I gave, totaled to around 35 euros. So it was a pretty good schnitzel. I enjoyed it, and the restaurant itself was really nice. Although that schnitzel wasn't as good as Schnitzel Wirt, but you know, it was a completely different animal, and I still enjoyed it. I'm a little bummed because that was pretty much the last thing I'm doing here in Innsbruck. This has been such a wonderful and magical 2 days. When I was trying to figure out the cities I'd go to in Austria, there were so many places that looked amazing, but I'm so glad that I chose Innsbruck as one of those spots. This city has literally provided me with one of the best travel memories of my entire life. Being on top of that mountain yesterday was just so indescribably perfect. Yeah, that made this whole trip worth it. I wish I had one more day in Innsbruck. There's just so much more I'd want to do, but the time I did spend here was well spent. Thankfully, I still have more adventures to look forward to here in Europe. I've got more time to spend in Vienna. I'm going to a Michelin-starred restaurant there, and I'm probably going to do a day trip to Bratislava, so there's a lot to look forward to, but as far as Innsbruck goes, this time I've spent here has been magical.